The self-titled Sophie album that just came out is the perfect Posthumous album. And it's not because it's the best Posthumous album or it sounds the best, but it's actually more about what you don't hear. Because what I think makes this so good is as much as you feel her presence, you feel her absence. And I think that's what you need, especially when someone, in music in general, I think that's how we feel about Sophie. When someone is so influential and leaves so early, it is inevitable that we feel their absence as much as we feel their presence absolutely everywhere. But before I get into that theory, I need to talk more about my relationship to Sophie, because I've had quite a few people ask me over the years, are you ever going to talk about Sophie? Are you ever going to review Sophie? Well, here we go. This is my chance. I wanted to wait for a real chance to talk about it. And if it were not for Sophie, this channel would not exist. In case you don't know the lore, I experienced what I call mid-20s music death. So, I love music, obviously. I have thousands of CDs and hundreds of albums, and I listen to music all the time, and my house is filled with music, and I got the hi-fi. And every time there's not music playing, I say to my kids, more music, and we go and we put on more music, right? But what happened was, and this happens to most people, right around 24, 25, so we're talking like 2001, 2002, I just kind of closed up shop. I kind of closed my mind and sort of thought, well, whatever's new is just not good. Everything that was good was either made in the 60s, 70s, a little bit in the 80s, maybe the 90s, but then after it, it's done. That didn't mean that I stopped learning about new music. I learned a lot about Bach, about dub reggae. I went through all sorts of different genres and styles. I tried to fill in my knowledge of rap history, everything came before 2000, but I barely listened to new music at all. And I was totally fine with that, like most dudes with a family, who's plunging towards middle age. At the time, it didn't seem to matter to me because all this new stuff was trash. Now, of course, the exception was Kanye West, and his album Life of Pablo was only available on Tidal, Tidal, and so all the way back in 2016, I downloaded Tidal. And I listened to it, and then I realized something, before I had my most recent newborn. I haven't been to the gym in like 2 months. But in general, on a normal schedule, I go to the gym 3 times a week. And I used to go and I'd work out and I'd listen to like podcasts, okay? So I'm like sitting there and I'm listening to, Star Wars podcasts or whatever the hell I'm listening to. And it's hard to work out listening to people talk. Maybe you're listening to me talk. What's up? Work. Go harder. You can do it. But in general, it's not that easy. So just one day, I don't really know why, I'm like, well, let's open up Tidal. Let's see, maybe I'll find some music I like. And the reason that I like Tidal over other music services, and this is starting to go away, it does this less than it used to, but the first thing it showed you was new releases. Not algorithmically leading you down some path, so I play some Neil Young, and then they play music that sounds like Neil Young, and then 3 minutes later I'm somehow listening to Billy effing Joel, okay? That happened to me once. That happened to me once on a predictive algorithm, and I'll never forgive it. What makes you think I like Billy Joel because I like Neil Young? Whatever it is, Algo, you and me, we have beef, okay? God damn. You think I want to hear Piano Man? What do you think, Southern Man and Piano Man are the same thing? I'm gonna keep moving on. So I like Tidal because of that, because it just gave you all of the new albums. So I just kind of plop around, and I felt something. I felt like, hey, I'm getting a little bit more flexible, I'm going to the gym, I'm working out, I'm doing a little stretchy machine thing, the little thing you sit down and you stretch your latissimus, dorsimuses, and all that stuff. And I had this feeling of like, listening to new music is actually improving my vitality, because some of it's pretty good, some of it's great. Let's check this out. And there are 3 acts that really pulled me through, that really drew me in to do this channel eventually, because I heard this music and I had nowhere to put my thoughts. The first of that was Young Fathers, especially their song, In My Head. I just absolutely loved Young Fathers, and I didn't know who they were, I didn't know where they were from, I didn't know what they looked like, but I listened to the album. The second one of those sort of 3 key groups was Ghost Poet, a very sort of mysterious, avant-garde, semi-hip-hop, British, depressing guy who I just loved his music, especially the song Trouble in Me. And I'd listen to this music, I'd listen to the whole albums, I wouldn't go on the predictive algorithm, I'd just listen to the whole albums. At that point, my kids were 13 and 11, my older kids, I now have a 2-year-old and a 2-month-old, and we'd sit there and I'd listen to them and whatever. They didn't really want to talk about music with their dad, you know, at that point. My daughter was in her full goth phase. I was like, can we please listen to more Panic at the Disco? I'm like, all right, fine. I don't have high hopes for it, but maybe it's good. And, you know, sometimes I'd post on Facebook and say like, hey, here's some new stuff that's happening. And I got nothing. I had nowhere to talk to, no one to listen to. Why didn't I go on YouTube and look up music commentary? I don't know. Maybe if I had discovered Fantano like before I started my channel, maybe if I'd ever heard anybody except for Todd in the Shadows talk about music the entire time I was on YouTube, I never would have started the channel. But I was just like, let's do it. So this is the part that's great, is that meant that these artists who helped push me and my growth, I could review their next projects. And that's what I did. You know, so Young Fathers comes out with Heavy, and not only do I get to review it, but people kind of cared what I thought about it. I was able to support the band while at the same time recognizing this amazing connection I had to this time in my life where I didn't think I'd like new music. And this was one of the 3 artists who proved to me that new music was good and young people are not, in fact, stupid losers who all look like Pat Mahomes. Okay? And Ghost Poet. When Ghost Poet came out with a new album, I talked about it at some length. It was awesome. There we go. But who was the third? Who was the third artist who I heard in that weird time, who changed the way I thought about music? Who was the third artist who I was excited to review? Of course, it was Sophie. I don't know why I clicked on that album cover. You know, the little teeny tiny, just little album covers, you know, you click on it. I probably thought she looked pretty or something, or like, you know, seductive or something. It's like a weird mermaid oyster. I don't know. Maybe it was the title. I don't know. Maybe I thought it was French because it was Sophie, you know? And I listened to the song, and you know that thing that they do on YouTube, you know, the reaction? There was this whole thing like, I don't know, when Skrillex came out where it was like, old people listen to Skrillex. That was like, old person listens to Sophie. I heard it. I had never heard the term hyperpop. I'd never heard of A.G. Cook. I'd never heard of Charlie XCX. I had no idea who she was. I didn't know if she was American, British, French. I had no idea she was trans. Absolutely none. All that I knew about her was that she made this music that I heard one day at the goddamn gym on an elliptical, and I was like, what is this? This is like electro and stuff, but it's weird, and it's good. And it's punk, but it's not, but it's pop, but it's not, but it's industrial, but it's not, but it's impersonal, but it's not. What is this music? Now, I played this a lot for my kids, especially the song Face Shop, and this was a rough time because I used to put the windows down and drive through the center of my little town, because that's what I do. I'm a suburban. You got to drive through town, listening to music you like, super loud. When I was a kid, I was listening to Welcome to the Terror Dome. Now I'm listening to Face Shop by kids. When I rolled down the windows, their heads would roll down to make sure that no one saw them, while I was just blasting, my face is the shop, my shop is the face. Anyways, and what this is why it's so interesting to me, is that it was terraforming my brain. And I talk about me so much because I'm arrogant and I like telling my stories, but also because I'm going somewhere, okay? Should have told you that in the beginning. You've already clicked off. You haven't, though. You're cool. She was terraforming my brain for what was coming. I randomly, if the algorithmic demon was leading me down a path from Ghost Poet or Young Fathers, I probably never would have found her. But because I just randomly selected whatever seemed interesting or new on you know, the new albums, like I was back at HMV or Tower Records, and they had one of those like little towers where you could listen to different CDs that just came out. You know, this random discovery led to an organic appreciation of the most avant-garde music that was going to be setting the tone and helping to identify things going forward in the music. So when I would hear 100 Gex or Charlie XCX, I was ready. Sophie made me ready, and she also was part of what made you ready. This whole hyper pop fractured madness music that comes out, all of this stuff that's come out, she's so influential. And I could feel that at the time. I must have been, what, a 41-year-old dude. And I felt it. And it changed me. Sophie changed me. Just that randomly. And I'm sure she changed you too. And then she died. And I was like, damn, okay. I guess, okay. So there we go. We were stuck. What am I gonna do? A lot of people said I should review her first album. You know, I've listened to it a bunch and I like it a lot. It just never quite felt right. It felt a little bit too sad. But fortunately, we have this, the perfect Posthumous album. Thank you for auditing the Always Positive New Music Review Show, hosted by a French professor who is indeed healing from bronchitis. That's why I've sounded funny lately. I'm in my bathrobe. You might think I'm in my bathrobe because I'm so chill and I'm such a unk dad or whatever that kind of stuff is. That's true. I'm in my bathrobe because I wake up an hour before my family on a Sunday to record these videos. And if I get dressed fully, that's gonna wake up my newborn. So I just sneak out. So I know I look cozy and that's cool and I am cozy. But this right here is somebody who's working. And of course, if you don't know, I have my baby monitor to make sure my 2-year-old is not up. If she wakes up, this video is gonna end in a hurry and you'll have to get a part 2. So what makes this such a perfect Posthumous album, as I say? Well, first of all, it's not just the ingredients it uses, it's the ingredients it doesn't. So this should be Strange Ways, Here We Come by the Smiths. I don't know where my CD went. Somebody took it. So was it you? I don't know. But this should be Strange Ways, Here We Come, with the song Paint a Vulgar Picture. And that's what I always think. If you don't know, it's a great Smith song, a great late Smith song, off of the album Strange Ways, Here We Come. And I'm going to read you some of the lyrics from the song and let you know how I feel whenever I find out a posthumous project is coming out. At the record company meeting, on their hands a dead star. And oh, the plans they weave. And oh, the sickening greed. That's the description. You know, we have to repackage, reissue everything. The excitement that the record companies feel when somebody dies. And then later, Marcy describes his feeling about this dead star, his connection to them. So in my bedroom in those ugly new houses, I danced my legs down to the knees. But me and my true love will never meet again. The insanely strong parasocial relationship he has with this person who is gone forever, and how everyone tries to corrupt that image, the way you might feel about Sophie, the way I might. My connection to Sophie is very different than most people's because, you know, I'm not young, so all that stuff, you know, so getting attached to an artist when you're 41 is different than getting attached to an artist when you're 16, right? There's a different level of sort of like enmeshment. But still, I danced down to my knees. No, they can never touch you now. No, they cannot hurt you, my darling. They cannot touch you. But me and my true love will never meet again. And that's the vulgarity of a posthumous project. But the other hand of that vulgar picture is we all want it. We all want it. We all want it. Do you know how many Jimi Hendrix albums I own? I own like 20 Jimi Hendrix albums, and that dude made 4 albums while he was alive, and one of them was a live album, okay? We all want it. We all want whatever we can get from this person that we lost. And I think the best example of a vulgar picture, an album that represents the vulgar picture, is Notorious B.I.G. Born Again. Okay? If you don't know, hey, I don't know what the overlap is of Biggie fans and Sophie fans, but here we are, okay? This, to me, is a great example of a vulgar picture that is also an insanely fun album. This is, of all the things I say that get people pissed, this is my favorite Biggie album. I love this album. To me, this is his most solid album, okay? You just got mad at me, that's okay. And this is sort of the way it usually goes. You have a collaborator or a producer. In this case, let me see. Sorry. Diddy, Sean Puffy Combs, puts together scripts and scraps, old things that were recorded, outtakes, things like that. And then they mix it together, and then they get an all-star murderer's row of who could be on the album. You know, who wants to... Eminem's on here. He never worked with Biggie, but he could, you know? And Lil C's because he did work with him in the past. And Junior Mafia because he did work with them in the past. And you have all of these artists, and they all work together. And it has this weird sort of sickeningly good, but also sickeningly exploitative feel. Because it's just like everyone's jumping on. And who doesn't want to be on the project to represent for the greatest of all time? So why do I like this album by Sophie so much? Is that it's not that at all. Now listen, there are guest appearances everywhere because Sophie is nowhere. Sophie is everywhere and nowhere in this album. Sophie is everywhere and nowhere in music right now, right? That's my little thesis here, if I need to say it again for the kids not paying attention in the back. But if they just had the famous artists who have written songs about her on this album, you would have Caroline Polachek. Okay, I think Sega Bodega wrote one too, but not exactly a superstar, although I really like Sega Bodega. Or St. Vincent, right? Didn't St. Vincent write a song about her as well? Or you could have the collaborators, people who worked with Sophie. Just like the most famous people. You're trying to tell me they wouldn't say yes? You're trying to tell me they wouldn't jump as fast as they could? So you get St. Vincent and Vince Staples on the same album because she produced all these great songs for Vince Staples? Or Arca, a sort of fellow creator of this sound, or A.G. Cook, a fellow creator of this sound, or Charlie XCX, a fellow creator of this sound. That's how it could have been. It could have been. This album would have been called Sophie, and you would have looked on the back and be like, ooh, I can't wait to jump ahead to that. Ooh, I can't wait to jump ahead to that. Ooh, I can't wait to jump ahead to that. But they did not paint a vulgar picture. It was her brother, who was also a collaborator, but her brother, Benny Long, who finished the production. It feels personal, because it is. It's like a loving tribute that never once says, we miss you, Sophie, but the entire time screams, we miss you, Sophie. It feels unfinished. It feels sort of empty, because her voice is nowhere on the project. And that makes it way more powerful. It might make it less enjoyable. Okay? It is. It is less enjoyable. If there is a Born Again version of Sophie out there, that would be awesome. I would love to hear a track where St. Vincent and Vince Staples collaborate on a lost Sophie track with Sophie vocals, right? Get A.G. Cook in there to produce that thing? Are you telling me that isn't awesome? That isn't fresh? That would be absolutely... Okay, I'm running out of old terminology. Dope. Okay? But... that's not what this is, because we need to feel her absence. I think about something that happened when I was 12 years old, and when I was 12 years old, Mel Blanc died, and I was a huge Looney Tunes fan. And if you don't know, Looney Tunes, like every single voice on Looney Tunes, from Daffy Duck to Porky Pig to Foghorn Leghorn to Bugs Bunny, okay, is done by the guy Mel Blanc. And so when he died, they came out with this artwork, Warner Brothers did. And I remember seeing it. And even though I didn't cry when he died, I cried when I saw this image. And I know that's kind of cheesy to compare these things, but this is how this album feels to me. Like, I feel like this album, you know, could be called Speechless, and you could just have an image. I don't know. Is that too much? Is that too goofy? Hey, you're already 18 minutes into an album review where I haven't talked about the album yet, so I think we should be good. The album is basically set into chunks, which is another thing that I like about it. Because she was such a diverse artist, because she brought so much to music, it showcases all of that in a way that feels deliberate. It feels like it was sequenced deliberately. Still getting over my bronchitis. Oh, I don't edit my videos if this is your first video you've ever seen of mine, so you're going to see me cough. Sorry. I think you also probably see some birds back there. I'll check my baby monitor while I'm at it. Oh, she's rolling around. Keep it moving, Sky. It's broken into 4 chunks, as I see it. 1, the mournful beginning. 2, the BC party. 3, let's hit the club. And 4, the long, joyful goodbye. If you like what you see, smash the like bucket. Subscribe. A lot of people join my Patreon these days. I'm doing vlogs. People like the vlogs. Why did I say that like Trump? We love the vlogs. You could do AVAA, which stands for Awesome Video As Always. And given my Trump impersonation, why not? So the first part is the mournful beginning. Starts off with the track intro, parentheses, the full horror? Oh my God, what a bummer. What a way to bring you into thoughts of death. What a way to make you think about her passing. Just this long, ambient sounds. And it starts with horror, but it's going to end with joy. And I think this album, to a certain extent, you can feel it as like an apotheosis. It's like where someone like dies and then goes up to heaven. It feels like it could be an apotheosis, so we have to kind of start here. And then we get to Raw, featuring Jawsy, who had a great verse on the Schoolboy Q album, probably still my album of the year, Memphis rapper. A reminder that Sophie did so much. She even worked with great rap artists. Crazy awesome slow rap beat. I love her high voice, the way she raps and sings. I'm not dirty, but I'm raw. That's a great lyric. Crazy sounds of high synth piano sounds, get kind of detuned at a certain part. Sophie just has all these different layers and all these different things going here. And she's so good at throwing in little discordant things that make you feel that something's a little bit off, that just work great. And apparently this song has been around since 2017. I should tell you, I'm not a Sophie super fan. I don't follow the blogs or whatever, so I don't go online and find it. I just really like that album and I really enjoy listening to it, and I'm very thankful for what it brought to me. So feel free to tell me in the comments, bro, you don't know nothing about Sophie. True. Then we get to the next song, Plunging Asymptote. I don't think I'll ever say the word asymptote again in the same way. Featuring Juliana Huxtable, who's apparently a poet and a visual artist. Okay? We don't get St. Vincent. I'm sorry. My dog Bo just started looking at me through the window. I don't think you can see. He's looking at me like a ghost. I haven't fed them yet. Sorry, he just scared me. I was like, plunging asymptote. So instead of St. Vincent, we have Juliana Huxtable, which I think is the strength of this album. This might be my favorite song on the album, at least the most stuck in my head, with these industrial blades starting, super mournful, against a white noise more torturous than silence. I mean, what the hell is an asymptote? What is an asymptote? I looked up an asymptote on the completely falsely named website Math is Fun. Okay? I'm sorry, I had a hard time with math. You know that joke in The Simpsons where Lisa says to Milhouse, "You cry when you do long division and there's still a remainder." That was me. I cried when there was still a remainder. Tears. Real tears. So an asymptote is a line that a curve approaches as it heads towards infinity. So a line that goes to infinity, like a curve that goes to infinity, and that's a line that's connected to it. Now, this song was made and I think recorded before she passed. But still, is this not an amazing image of Sophie's soul, if you want to call it? Her influence, her presence, being that curve that goes to infinity, and this song being a line that goes right along with it. I don't know. It's catchy, it's avant-garde, it's catchy in exactly the right way. Then we get to The Dome's Protection by Nina Kravitz, with some Russian producer. It's the longest song, very poetic. Unpredictable reality has become the algorithm that is able to solve a whole series of questions. You know how I feel about the algorithm. And it's a long song, and I like it. But at this point of the album, I was sort of done. So fortunately, it's time for part 2. It's the BC Party. Reason Why, featuring BC Kingdom, and the one sort of star who worked with Sophie, who's on this album, Kim Petras. I have to say that of all the bummers of Sophie not being around, the fact that we never got like a full Kim Petras Sophie album. I love Brat. I do. I love Brat. But Brat is nothing compared to what that album could have been. And also, I really like Kim Petras, but I have to always deal with Dr. Luke. I have to deal with that feeling of knowing that I'm also supporting somebody who I don't feel like I should be supporting. So it's like this weird thing where I'm like kind of dancing, but with my arms folded, you know? Anyways, I love her voice, piercing over these kind of bouncy house things, because now we're in the party stage here. I love these lower synths as well. You're just nodding your head. I don't know who BC Kingdom is. I guess there's a duo out of Los Angeles. They're sort of forgettable vocalists, but that's what house music needs. House music needs forgettable vocalists. Right? That's one of the great things about it. Then we get to Live in My Truth, featuring BC Kingdom again, and Liz, real chipmunk sounds, these keyboards playing some house rhythms, like the kind of keyboard setting where you can't play two notes at once. And it has a great party feel to it. It's sort of forgettable, but it's super important to the weave of the album, of these different styles and genres kind of mixing together. And obviously, the idea of living one's truth is very important, especially when you're talking about people in the trans community, right? And I don't know, by the way, with the exception of Kim Petras, I don't know anything about any of these collaborators. I've never heard their names before, so I don't know what their story is either, but I'm just going to talk about them anyway. Then we get to Why Lies. Super thin sounds, like these drums are super high pitched. Why do you keep telling me lies, telling me lies? Here, I really like BC Kingdom when they come in here. And what's funny is, so I was typing up my notes to this, right? So my life is just too crazy. So right out here, okay? So we have that's like a little play sync, and my daughter's playing with the sync, and my computer's running low on energy. So I was sitting next to that bench up against the wall, and I had the speaker on that bench right there, okay? And I'm sitting there and I'm typing, and I write that I kind of like this song. But while I'm typing and listening to this song, I'm moving my head up and down, and I'm like typing these notes, and I'm just like, so there's the part of you that's the critic, and then there's the part of you that's the person. And then when the part of you that's the person is telling that part of you that's a critic to shut up, you better listen to that part of you that's a person. Song rules. Leads directly into the third segment. Okay, so I like it because we're heading into Let's Hit the Club, part 3 of the album, but it segues directly in from the last song, in with Do You Want to Be Alive, featuring Big Sister. The album title's on here. I'm telling you, do you want to be alive for someone who passed so tragically? Oof. Low warbled sounds and pounding, pulsing synths. This lyric, Voltaren, I got it on sale at Dollar Tree. My pussy's tight, skin snowflake white. You're grabbing, I'm not putting up a fight. Daddy, daddy, can I ask you a question? It's a fun, listening to a lot of this music as a middle-aged dude who's happily married and has more kids than sense is really fun because, you get this little, Voltaren is some kind of arthritis medicine. So it's like, I don't know I don't know for what reason one would take that medicine. I assume it's something kinky. I can just imagine it has something to do with the tightness of one's vagina. I don't know what. And this weird kind of psychosexual imagery, it's funny because that's not where I am right now in my life. I don't have to be that place in my life right now. But just knowing that's out there, knowing there's young people reinventing sex as they do every year. There's new young people reinventing weirdness. There's new young people just out there doing whatever this stuff is. It's weird, it's dark, it's mysterious. I like it. Nice beat switch, and I barely even noticed when it moved into the song Elegance, featuring Popstar. I don't know who Please tell me in the comments. Is Popstar secretly Sophie? Maybe Popstar's a person. Hey, have a better name for search engine optimization. Because you look up Popstar, you find pop stars. You look up Popstar musician, you find Popstar musicians. My theory is that it's her, but they just didn't want to say it was her, but who knows? Please tell me in the comments. I could be totally wrong. It's a little simple ditty. I had to stop saying, I'm saying ditty with a T, but it's a little simple song, and it's just saying elegance over and over again. And I don't know if this is on purpose, but I assume that she is assuming that you know a lot of electronic music. So I was just thinking of Kraftwerk and their song Europa and Los. Elegance und Dekadenz, Europa and Los. I don't know. Do you know that, by the way? Oh my God. If you've never listened to the song Europa and Los, look it up on YouTube. Don't listen to the English version. Find the German version. It's not on Tidal, actually. The German version's not on Tidal. Und Dekadenz, Europa and Los. I love the way this has this, there's this beat switch where it goes in this cool, old school dance hip hop track. It's so ghostly and fun. It sounds like Houdini or something. God damn. Why did she have to go? You know what I'm saying? I mean, I understand, and I understand that her death was very poetic, and at the very least, if you're going to die young, dying poetically, no, there's no good way to die young. I'm sorry. I take that back. I'm an old dude. There's no good way to die young. Nope. Not a single one. It's just really sad. I mean, it's really sad on a human level because obviously she was well loved and well appreciated and very kind. But just on an artistic level, sorry, got some cardinal action back there. Segues perfectly into the next song. That's why I call this "Let's Go to the Club" part, because it's all like connected and it all feels like you just kind of get into the zone. You're just sort of Berlin Nightmare. It was sort of, hey, Berlin. Like this song, and again, I've only ever been to one club in my entire life. Okay, I went to a gay club one time in my divorce with a bunch of friends, and I saw one of my students there, and I'm like, I'm done. It was a weird thing, you know, but it was cool. Tilt, Rochester, New York. Good club. Had a fun time. I get why people go to clubs. But this song makes me wish I was in a club, you know, with the music blasting and the dancing and the Willkommen auf Deutschland, honey. And it's great. But why Nightmare? Like, this album never lets you be comfortable, never really lets you party, because it keeps reminding you of death and sadness. And again, it speeds up to the song Gallop featuring Evita Magne. And it feels like a gallop, and it's nice. And it feels like, you know, maybe if she had finished this album, this might have been maybe extended out more. You know, there's these great Atari 2600 sounds at the end. This song, it feels like Benny Long's trick was he had to, like, not put too much of his stuff on it, but he had to, like, have finish, you know? So I get the sense this could have been so much more, but I like what it is. Leads right more into One More Time. I'm sorry. That's just going to keep going. I think these damn house finches, they drive me crazy. One More Time. Okay, so One More Time is a dance song, electronic dance song, with someone repeating the words one more time over and over again. And it's not Daft Punk. It doesn't even, I didn't even bring out my Daft Punk CD because I don't think it has anything to do with Daft Punk. I think it's, again, reminding you of her absence because the song's called One More Time and we don't have one more time. And then we end with the fourth part, my favorite part of the album, The Long Happy Goodbye. Starting off with the track Exhilarate, which is just super poppy and awesome. This song is like the version, this is the one song which I think would have fit on this kind of album, a kind of like glorious, fun, more enjoyable, but maybe less authentic or less moving project. There's this percussive insistence with the synthesizers and these layers and layers of synths that are just so tastefully chosen. I love this vocalist, very, very interesting. There's a great breakdown at the ending. Actually, the breakdown at the ending reminded me of sort of like yelling birds. And of course, the birds stop yelling right as I say that. You guys, you're worse than the dogs. And then from here on out, everything just becomes exhilarate. Always and forever. All these lyrics and these titles end up becoming about foreverness and heaven and eternity. Featuring Hannah Diamond, sweet and meaningful organ sounds. I love these kind of like, these are like slow organ sounds. And then these synths, which I can only use the word twerp. Kind of like that bird. It's like, kind of like a twerpy sound. This angelic and breathy voice. Little synth kind of whining this melody far away. And this, like, I feel like I could listen to this song for an hour. I never get tired of it. Then we get to My Forever, okay? So we had Always and Forever, My Forever. Very simply, the song makes me want to cry and dance at the same time. I don't really know why. I love the hi-hat trills at the end here, the pulsing synths, the twerpy snares that come in eventually on the 2 and the 4 to make it into a little dance track. And then the final song, Love Me Off Earth, featuring Doss. Let's workshop this sentence, okay? Can we workshop this sentence, Love Me Off Earth? This can mean two things. This can mean, while I am off of the earth, love me, okay? In that sense, off earth is together, right? So in this I mean, the lyrics are, what is it worth to love me off earth, defy logic and time, love me off earth. Okay, it's over these pulsing house synthesizers, really unexpected chord choices. It sounds kind of urgent. Loving me off of earth means that she's not on this earth anymore, right? Sophie's not here anymore, right? She's gone, right? Sucks. She's gone. So if she exists at all, if you believe in the soul or the essence or whatever you want to call it, okay? If you believe that her soul, like a bird, flew away, and she's off somewhere, then this is a song to demand that you love her off of the earth. But what if it's not love me off of the earth? Instead, what if the whole verb is love me off? Like, I am leaving the earth, so the way to get me to leave earth is by loving me off. So this is our way of loving her so much that we are literally loving her off the earth. That's what you do at a funeral. You love someone off of the earth. When I put my dad, my brothers and my family and I put my dad into the ground a couple years ago, we're trying to love him off of the earth until he goes to heaven. That's the hope. It's an amazingly powerful sentence. And yeah, it's Doss is singing this. But then at the end, you're like, it was her the whole time. Every word on this album was sung by Sophie. The voices were different, but it all comes together. It's like she's possessing them. And here we are, and it's our job to love her off of the earth with our ears and our appreciation. And then once she has ascended, we have to love her while she is off the earth. No other Posthumous project I've ever listened to got me to feel that way, gave me goosebumps like this. They just get me to go, gee, I'm sad. I like the new music. Thank you. Damn. It's a great album. It is a great album, and I'm really, really thankful that she existed. And I hope you will join me in loving her off the earth. These are my Patreons. They give me money to buy music. I think I should finally at least buy her first album. There's so many of them at this point. It's just crazy. Y'all are supporting me so much. They help me buy new music and buy diapers, which are increasingly necessary. Let's see, the new ones for today are in green. So if you're trying to find yourself because you just joined up, you're in green. So that's pretty cool. I also offer shout outs to my Patreons on almost every video, if I think of it. And I had some people here, because like I have several different niches that I touch on, your mainstream rap, your underground rap, your post-punk music. But this is another one, the sort of hyper pop / like, and I don't have an answer. Like one of the questions I like to ask is there such a thing as trans music? Like, what makes trans music? Can it be seen as a genre that exists and carries certain elements to it? And obviously, you have to start with Arca, and you have to start with Sophie, and I think a lot of what they did, I think you have to start with Wendy Carlos. When is that her? Yes, okay. To make sure, because she released all of her albums under her dead name, and then her dead name has 2 male names. So anyway, it's the person who did switch Don Bach. But anyway, you have to start at a certain point, and a lot of these aspects that like I am naturally coming to try to understand these things and try to describe them. So I'm thankful to have a chance to come back to this sort of other niche. I'm just going to make sure that I have it proper here. Okay, switched on Bach, because I always. Yes, Wendy Carlos. I got her name correct. Awesome. So, Harlan T., Carsick, and Andy Scudder, and Jeff Capps. They all wanted shout-outs because they all love Sophie. So there you go. Let's do my little check. Is my baby awake? No, she's doing all right. She went back to sleep. As always, try and see if I'm going to make this shot without looking. I've only made it once. Catch you on the flippity-flip. not even close. But it's not on the yard. We'll call it a victory. So for me and all the cardinals, all the birds around me, and all the spirits, there's the camera.